All right, hey everybody, Craig here on a not Monday live stream. This is a very special live stream, and so I'm glad that you're here as per usual. If you're coming to this video later, you may want to start scrubbing ahead just a little bit to get to the good stuff. We're going to give people just a moment to start trickling into the live stream. I've got a new little trick. There should be a little thing on the bottom of the screen now that tells you what it is that we're talking about at any given moment. So as you're scrubbing through, you can kind of see what it is that we're talking about. But today I've got a pretty fun and special treat. So it's not just me on today's live stream. I am looping in the fine folks of the Rutgers Medical School to talk about their experience with Disney Plus, because their professor, Anthony, was one of the winners of our Disney Plus Dream Jobs. And he's been integrating Disney Plus with not only his classes, but encouraging others to do that throughout the school as well. So we're going to talk with quite a few people about their experience with it, how they're using Disney to teach and to learn. I think it's going to be really interesting. So I hope you stick around for that. Let's get started. So I'm going to pull in Anthony. How are you, Anthony?
How are you doing?
Very good. All right. So welcome. Glad to see you here. I first of all just want you to introduce yourself and what you guys have been doing. Give us the lowdown on why you applied for this dream job and what you're doing with it.
So my name's Anthony Toby. I'm a professor here at Rutgers at Robert Wood Johnson Medical School. Certainly, the application to the Disney Plus Dream Job was really, I think, inspired through a master's course that we had. Looking around, we're at an event tonight. I do not see any master's students having come in just yet, but that course is part in our graduate school, and it's teaching addiction medicine through the analysis of selected animated Disney narratives. So that's where things kind of started. And then, having been granted that award, the next step was very quickly to get a group of medical students together to see where in which curricula we can fit Disney and then spread it as quickly as we could to jumpstart the 30 and 30. Some of those folks are coming in tonight again. We're going to be trickling in throughout the night. And as they are, I'm going to pull it in front of the camera. We do have a selected group around the camera right now that are representatives from different groups around Rutgers that you're going to get introduced to quickly. But that's where everything really started, Brad.
Excellent. So for you personally, tell me a little bit about, did you get to watch anything new on the platform? How did you enjoy your experience with the 30 movies in 30 days?
So yeah, I mean, there were a lot of mix of new and old, certainly. And tonight's film that we're actually watching with the psychiatry interest group hosting tonight's event is one, The Incredibles, that I haven't seen yet. So that's one that I'm actually looking forward to watching. But the stream itself has been great. It's been flawless. We've been able to kind of download it from various sites with regard to various courses, and it's really, for us, gone without a hitch.
And you've had dozens of different people kind of sharing logins and doing simultaneous streams, and everything's worked pretty well so far then.
We've been really lucky, yeah. It's not, and even within a couple of venues where Wi-Fi has always been a little tricky, we've had no problem whatsoever.
Yeah. Disney Plus had a rough first day with 10 million people trying to all stream The Mandalorian at one time. It got pretty ugly, but I think they've gotten a little bit better since then. So let's talk to a few other people around the table then, and why don't we go to whoever's up first. Tell us your name and what organization you're with, and let's talk about how you've used Disney this term.
So my name is Rahul. I'm with the psychiatry interest group as part of the medical school. And in terms of my use of Disney, I unfortunately have not subscribed to it yet, just because in terms of funding, it's a little low. But I have had the chance to use different logins, and my friends have Disney Plus, and I've been able to use it with them. And I'm just really happy with the UI, the different selections. I think a lot of the new stuff coming out is very interesting, and I think it's a great time to be a Disney fan. There's just a lot of accessibility, and it really gives you a ton of options for both new and old content right at your fingertips.
Are you watching The Mandalorian? Tell me you're watching The Mandalorian.
Of course.
All right, because you're
I am
you're a
behind
decent
so
person.
Spoilers.
Yeah, we'll avoid spoilers. Yeah, nobody leave. We're not going to spoil anything, but that's good. So, did you give me a highlight, I guess, of the last 30 days? What did you watch, and what did it help illustrate as far as these things that you guys are teaching and learning?
So, I guess in the last 30 days, one thing that I've watched was Aladdin, and I actually. The reason I did watch Aladdin is that I had the chance to sit in on one of Dr. Tobia's courses with that he mentioned before, for part of the master's program with the substance abuse disorders being taught through these Disney movies. And having sat in on that and watching Aladdin again, it really put a lot of new things into perspective. It really, I don't know, it gives you a different lens on viewing the movie. After I sat in on the course, I was like, wow, is that really what's going on? And I watched it and it's like, oh yeah, that's kind of what's going on.
So tell me a little bit more about that. Yeah, dig into that just a little bit for me. What is going on?
I'm sorry.
With me? Yeah. So again, where that particular discussion was parked was in the graduate school course, the original course that you know of, the Addicted to Disney course. So we watch Aladdin back to back with the movie Cars. So from there, the discussion primarily was really on the focus of the vapors and what was coming out of that lamp that resulted in this one young male believing he could fly or getting that floating feeling. So when you begin to discuss the film from that perspective, the differential diagnosis includes inhalant intoxication, and we will get into aspects of inhalant abuse. And in this case, in this particular substance, there's no withdrawal state, so we focused on the inhalant-induced mood disorders and what may have come out in focusing on Aladdin and then Jasmine.
Oh, okay. All right. So do we want to get into that at all? I mean, I feel like I want to just break Aladdin down, and I don't know if that's what we're doing today, but you've got me interested. So yeah. I'm having to pull myself back a little bit.
It's mainly the euphoria.
Yeah. And I think that overall, what we're really touching on here is just really allowing mental health, substance abuse issues, etc., a lot of different issues of psychiatry and psychology to be more readily accessible to students in a way that, gives them that segue to really get into a lot deeper issues. And that's overall what we really want as undergraduate students, as medical students, even if you may not think you have a future in psychiatry or psychology or clinical psychology, you still really want to be exposed to healthcare and certain issues overall. And really involving the media is allowing us to do so. We talk a lot about like the advancements of like digital education, and this is just another tool to allow us to do that.
Yeah, no, I find it really interesting that you're taking something like psychiatry, which, you guys are in school for years and years to learn about all of this stuff. And for most people, they hear that and they're like, oh, well, it's like any other program that it's going to be way over my head. And I don't know anything about psychiatry. But when you talk about it through the lens of Disney, that's something that everybody knows. And, and so if you relate something to Aladdin or The Little Mermaid or Cars or whatever, you're like, oh yeah, no, I've seen that. And so you get some sort of, you can grasp, but a layperson like me can grasp maybe even some of the concepts that you guys are studying, which I think is really valuable.
Yeah.
So I wanted to piggyback on what you just said, Craig, because we did watch The Little Mermaid as part of a medical student elective that we built around television. So up until the dream job came through, we were watching a couple of TV shows that were started at the beginning of the semester. And very quickly, as part of the coordination and direction of that course, when the dream job came through, we quickly substituted Disney films on those Monday and Wednesday evenings. So on I think the initial Monday evening, we actually substituted our show for The Little Mermaid. And I was able to then, just 48 hours later, carry that to the Addicted to Disney class and talk about what was going on with Ariel, picking up a lot with regard to what the students were talking about through that hashtag over Twitter. That's where we run that elective.
Yeah.
So, any one of you can actually go back and look. RWJ Mermaid is the hashtag we use, and there's tons of content there with regard to the conversation they had. But I'll just give you the quick skinny. They looked at Ariel as somebody who, just had this fixed belief that she was living in his fantasy world. Certainly, an origin of that may have been this relationship of her trying to pull away from her father, who was trying to keep her close. And as a result of that stress, she meets this man. She has some difficulty with regard to walking. That was a concern. And then, of course, losing her voice. And when you put all of that together, a lot of what was talked about over Twitter that evening, and a lot of what we were able to bring to the Addicted to Disney class that Wednesday, was the fact that she was probably exposed to mercury, right? And mercury poisoning is a combination of psychosis, difficulty ambulating because of paresthesias, and there was talk about her having difficulty walking because of feeling like she was walking on knives, and then loss of voice, which is all consistent with the triad of mercury poisoning.
So would it be possible that Ariel's lower half is a tuna? Is that what we're saying?
Well, she is a tuna. I mean, in terms of that's mercury and how she got affected.
There you go. All right. Well, we cracked the code. Now we know the Little Mermaid. That's awesome. That's really interesting stuff. Anybody else around the table want to give an example of what you guys have been watching and what you've learned from it?
Yep. So while I do have a login in this really intense semester, I haven't had a chance to sort of go through Disney Plus altogether. I'm pretty sure you have access to Pixar movies in Disney Plus.
Yeah.
So I'd love to talk about this. I wasn't sure for a second. I thought I would embarrass myself and say, oh, Pixar is a great pedagogical tool, but it's actually not involved. So Inside Out, I think it's a great movie to get people really invested into the cognitive parts of emotions. So Inside Out, as you probably know, you have like this little girl, and she has all these homunculi, like these representations of her emotions as people inside of her. And each of those people, they're representing an emotion that's known to be cross-culturally universal. I think from that, we can actually glean a lot of information, but not to spoil the plot too much. But the upshot of the movie, I think, is that you can't actually suppress certain emotions. You need to have a balance of emotions to be a adaptive person. And not to get on like a soapbox too much, but especially in like, Western secular society, there's a tendency to remove depression as much as possible, to say that, you need to be happy all the time. But I think that's a deeply mistaken idea because, well, for a variety of reasons, because we actually find something adaptive from negative emotions and we can't sidestep them altogether. At least that's my reading of the movie.
That's interesting. My other channel that I run is I talk a lot about fantasy and sci-fi books. You'll see them all here right behind me. But that's a big theme in my fantasy and sci-fi books, which is like what Tolkien talked about, which was that despair is a sin, but sadness can bring beauty. And so that's interesting that you bring that up. I love that stuff. Sorry, go on, Anthony.
I wanted to ask if you'd be okay with following me up too, because
Sure.
a week ago tomorrow, we actually had a joint didactic with University of Behavioral Health Care, actually right next door here, where we connected through Skype. Was it Skype?
Zoom.
Zoom. Okay. So we had video, and we actually watched the entire movie Inside Out together over lunch, and then we had a discussion through psychological and psychiatric perspective about aspects of the movie. So that was a great example of a film that we used for a didactic. It was a noontime didactic where we actually had a couple of schools involved. And we have Ravi here. Certainly, I wanted to ask of your perspective of the film. I could give you mine, but they've heard that. They've had that many times.
Sure, absolutely.
Robbie, is it?
Ravi. Yep.
Ravi. I know you,
Yeah.
Ravi.
Yeah, so now I'm going to be able to talk a little bit. So one of the great things about Inside Out, as a marriage and family therapist and having worked with kids and worked with families, you can see how Riley was struggling with initially just always wanting to be happy, and Joy wanting to say we're going to have a perfect day and everything's going to be happy, and sadness really was a lead in getting her help towards the end of the movie. And that's one of the great things about allowing individuals, whether they're children or adults, to feel what you're feeling. And it's okay to be sad. It's okay to be angry. It's okay to be happy. It's okay to be nervous. And the great thing about this movie is that Disney was able to recognize that children are going to see this movie. They're going to get excited. They're going to play with the toys. But there's that underlying message that it's so challenging for us to, when we're working with kids and we're working with families, to say it's okay to feel what you're feeling. As a professional working with kids in the emergency room, you see that they come in and it's human nature to say, well, don't be sad, it'll be okay. Or, it'll get better next time. So having this movie as a platform really allows children of all ages, teenagers, adults, to really have this model of it's okay to feel whatever you're feeling. You're going to get through it, and not to focus on one of the emotions, but to bring forth whatever you're feeling. So we just found that to be such a great message that Disney offered to the whole world.
Yeah.
Great. Yeah.
It is a great movie. Did you ever see, Ravi, Outside?
I have not seen Outside. Tell me about it.
So somebody did a fan cut of Inside Out, and they
Okay.
removed all the inside stuff. So it's just Riley having a really tough time. And it is a heartbreaker. So you can go look that up, I think, somewhere online.
I think that's great though, because it doesn't show all that struggle inside that we all have, whether we're nervous or we're not sure, we're angry, excited. We have all this in our head that we kind of think about nonstop. And that's the beauty of being able to actually visualize it and see it, and to teach younger kids that, hey, when you're angry, this is what you're feeling, or this is what it might look like. So I think that was great.
Well, thank you.
Sure.
Well, just for those who are kind of joining the broadcast, who are coming in, we're talking with the folks over at Rutgers University. Anthony, their fearless leader, was one of the Dream Job winners, and he and his class watched 30 movies in 30 days and beyond. This has gone well beyond just that original class. And so that's what we're talking about today, was their experience using Disney Plus to do that, talking about these Disney movies. So glad you could join us. Hang out for a few more minutes and we'll chat with them. I know these guys are going to be watching something tonight, and so in a few minutes we'll let them go do that. But all right, so anybody else around the table? I want to talk to maybe Sriniti or Alina about your group. What is it, Mind and Media?
Yeah.
And your experience with all of this.
So both of us actually did a discussion with the undergrads of The Lion King, and we kind of piggybacked with Dr. Tobia's curriculum of Simba kind of going through substance abuse in marijuana, so that throughout the movie he was either high or going through withdrawal symptoms, which examples like hallucinations when he saw Mufasa, or when he met Timon and Pumbaa, they were high again because they had like the whole motto of "it means no worries" kind of, and them like going ham on the grub and everything. So those were little instances of them being high, and we kind of went over what the symptoms and treatments of possible substance abuse is. And we also, it was teamed up with another public health sector of Rutgers University, so they went over the laws and stuff for marijuana. So it was a definitely interesting discussion that we had.
Yeah, no kidding. My kids, I've got 2 kids, 6 and 3, and they are obsessed with the Lion King, and so it's wall-to-wall Lion King daily at our house right now. And now I'm gonna set Hakuna Matata to be, in like a reggae beat or something.
Yeah.
That's fantastic. That's fantastic. Anything, Alina, else to add to that?
We have also participated in the Twitter account that was going along with the week of when Dr. Tobia was showing all the movies, contributed to the comments, and we really enjoyed what Dr. Tobia was doing and learning more about these movies, because I had no idea.
Yeah. Well, all right. So I'm going to go kind of around the table. We'll give this another couple of minutes, and I want to ask everybody to give me your favorite thing that you've watched on Disney Plus so far. and maybe the thing you're most excited for to come back to in the vault over and over again. So why don't you kick us off, Anthony?
So before I actually do that, I'm actually
all right.
3 other residents
great.
in training in, because they are perfect now to answer this, because they're actually part of a weekly seminar that we run back at the medical school. So they're going to be able to give you their favorites, just actually standing behind me right now.
All right, guys, come on up to the table so we can hear you nice and loud.
So get up.
Yeah, just have a seat.
All right.
So
what's your name?
My name is Mike. I'm one of the second-year psychiatry residents. Every week we watch movies with Dr. Tobia. It's called Red Room, and that's a scheduled meeting where we talk about kind of similar to what we do for Disney Plus, but with not just Disney movies, but we learn psychiatry through all kinds of movies. For us, it kind of is refreshing because we're coming out of med school. A lot of things are textbook kind of dry, but watching movies and learning that way is really, really helpful.
Yeah, absolutely. I think there's probably a lot of people watching the stream right now who are thinking to themselves, well, wait a minute, college was hard for me. This sounds easy. You're watching Disney movies the whole time. I know that's not it.
Yeah, it initially seems easy, but then especially with Dr. Tobia kind of leading us through more of the complex issues that you might have otherwise overlooked.
Yeah.
It actually becomes a pretty good exercise in building a differential diagnosis.
So tell us what your highlight movie was from the last 30 days and what you're going to be excited to watch over and over again in the coming months and years on Disney Plus.
For me, the highlight was probably maybe either The Simpsons or Lion King, or kind of like just most recently I've seen. So maybe that's just like my bias, but I haven't seen some of the newer Simpsons episodes, and I think they're just full of pathology that I wasn't expecting. So
that's what makes it so funny.
Yeah, exactly. It makes it funny and makes it interesting to talk about in a psychiatric way.
Yeah, that's great. All right, well, let's bring up the next one then.
Hi, I'm Caitlin. I'm also a second-year resident with Mike. Yeah, I'd say my favorite that we've done so far is, I don't know, 101 Dalmatians, maybe, because...
Really? Interesting choice.
It is. I have not seen that movie. I thought I knew the plot of it, and then realized I have not seen it since I was like 3 years old, I think. So it was refreshing and also disturbing to watch. And
that is dark stuff. That is,
for sure it was. And yeah, so I guess that was my favorite.
What are you going to be watching over and over again for the next year?
On Disney Plus?
Yeah.
Oh man.
Don't tell me you're going to get high and watch Lion King over and over again.
For sure not. I have to say my favorite Disney movie ever is probably Little Mermaid. So.
All right, very nice choice. I just introduced my kids to that one, and Ursula is quite scary for them, so that's great.
Ursula's misunderstood.
You might say she's a poor, unfortunate soul. I mean,
some might say that, yeah.
All right, let's bring up your fellow behind you, your fellow student. Hi, what's your name?
So I'm Melissa. I'm also a PGY too. I actually went to medical school at Robert Wood, so I'm pretty used to Dr. Tobia's use of film, but this has been an interesting change because I'm used to watching horror movies with the man, not Disney movies. My favorite
develop your own pathologies, after watching all these horror movies.
Yeah, sometimes we analyze the movie, sometimes we analyze the instructor.
So more recently, and this is an introduction for Melissa, we actually have now come to a point where we're combining the two. It's going to be called Once Upon a Time in Castle Rock.
Oh, jeez.
Multiple Stephen King films that pair wonderfully with multiple Disney films, and the curriculum is actually just getting in its very infancy stages. And guess who's going to actually be central to that now, just because she opened her mouth?
It is. It's interesting if you ever, if you go to nerd conventions and that sort of thing, they group 3 different things together all the time, and it's fantasy, science fiction, and horror. And so Disney and horror movies, they exhibit, they have a lot of Venn diagram overlap, I suppose, in a strange way that people might not expect. All right, so Melissa, tell me about your highlight from this term and what you're going to be watching going forward.
My highlight so far has probably been Peter Pan, because it is. I did not realize how disturbing that movie was. Have not seen it in forever, so that's been fun to analyze a lot.
Yeah.
And going forward, I'm probably going to enjoy reliving my childhood and watching as many of the Disney Channel movies that I grew up watching as well.
Yes. I have already watched Brink twice because I'm a really cool person. No, that's great. All right. Well, thanks, you guys. Anybody else want to take a shot at a highlight from their term?
Mhm.
Feeling good?
I'm just
I
gonna-
haven't heard from you, Jama, yet.
I'll go next.
Oh,
Hi. I guess one of the highlights from the past 30 days has to be Hercules. Always have been a really huge Hercules fan. Who wouldn't? Love the muses, but I really liked how Dr. Tobia put it in the realm of talking about like adjustment disorders, and then at one point, like you had to go through the 12 steps as well. And I really think that put it in a lens that makes me look at the movie differently as well, for the better, for the worse. I can't really tell, but still one of my favorite Disney movies. Just now with an attachment to Psych, which is nice. And what I will be watching forever and ever and ever on Disney Plus will be all the old school Disney Channel TV shows. That's So Raven, one of my favorite. Will never get old.
no, it could never. That's great.
Never.
All right. Were we going back to you, Serenity?
Yes. So I think my favorite Disney Channel movie is Cinderella, and I guess with psychiatry, he kind of goes into like the personality disorders that the sisters and she has. But a show that I would probably watch and repeat is Sweet Life of Zack and Cody, and I've been watching that with my housemates every day. So
that was a little after my time, I think. But much respect to Sweet Life. I'm sure it's great. So, all right. So, anybody else want to go, or did we cover everybody who wanted to mention a highlight?
I think we're good.
All right, very good. All right, well, Anthony, I want to thank you and all of these students for coming on and giving us a few minutes, kind of telling us about what it's been like. We were thrilled that we got to assist you with this, using this Dream Job Challenge. And so, yeah, any parting words for those watching?
No, it's been absolutely great. It's been a blast. I know that we officially finished, you and I think on Friday. And because we got a little bit of a late start with our internal competition, we're going to carry the Dream Job all the way up until the 23rd and end with Festivus. So looking forward.
Well, yeah, that's great. That's great. And tonight, you guys are going to be watching The Incredibles, you mentioned earlier. And between all of you, you're going to be having some conversation on Twitter around your viewing of The Incredibles. And if people want to check that out, they can go on Twitter and use the hashtag Incredibles to kind of track your conversation. So if they find that interesting, they can go check that out. And that goes for those who are watching this after the live stream. I know a lot of you are going to be coming in and watching that later. So go on Twitter and you can check those archives and go see the Twitter conversation. I'm sure it's going to be interesting. I'll be hanging out and watching that hashtag as well. So encourage people to do that. Well, thank you all for joining the live stream today. Much appreciated, and enjoy your movie tonight.
Thank you so much, Greg. Thanks for everything.
All right. I will see you guys next time.
Take care.
All right. So let's finish up with our live stream here by talking about a few other things, just to give you guys an update on what's going to be going on with the Reviews.org channel coming up. I know there's only a few of you left on the live stream, but I know that there will be others who come and view it afterwards as well. And so this will be as much for them as it is for you. And I'll remind people of this in future live streams also. But we are going to be covering CES again this year. So now that the Disney Plus Dream job is kind of wrapping up, we've finished working with those folks. We're going to shift our focus to CES, which is held every January in Las Vegas. And we've been there the last 2 years. You can go check out our past coverage of it. We try to make it better every year, and this year is no different. So we're going to be there putting out quite a lot of content. And so I hope you're ready for that. Make sure that if you're viewing this, if you came in from notification on the homepage or something, make sure that if you're subscribed, that you've got that bell icon on if you're interested in CES content, because when we start that in January, I think we'll start releasing content from that on the 7th, if I'm not mistaken. January 7th, and it's going to be kind of wall-to-wall coverage of CES. This is the Consumer Electronics Show. A lot of stuff is going to be announced there. A lot of stuff is going to be shown there. We're going to be in the thick of it. So make sure that you're subscribed, that you've got notifications turned on if you are interested in that. I'm going to be doing live streams from the floor in CES. If I see a nice booth or something and we want to highlight something there, I'll come out with a live stream at least once a day while we're there at CES, and I would love to see all of you there also. So anyway, more to come on that. I think I'll have some more details as we get closer to it, either at the very end of December after Christmas or right after the new year before we get out there to Las Vegas. I will come out with some more announcements for you guys. Appreciate you staying with us through December. The holiday season is always, it's always a bit of a crapshoot as far as what we're going to be able to release, because I've got vacation time, our editors have vacation time, and I appreciate you sticking with us, and I'm really looking forward to January and February when we get back into a regular cadence. And when we do that, I've got this channel's got some huge things coming up. So I hope you are sticking around into 2020, because we're going to have a lot more reviews for you. And it's not just going to be me. Okay. It's not just going to be me. So if I drive you crazy, then relief is coming. So no, I'm really looking forward to it. And I hope you are as well. Thank you so much for joining today's live stream. And I will see you guys next time.